is that on the day that I have to face that deity and look him in the, or her in the eye, I would say, I don't know exactly what you expect. I've never hung out with a God before. But I honestly hope that I've lived my life in a way that when today came, I could look you in the eye and hope that you were proud of the way I lived my life. And all that I can suggest to you is that if on honest personal reflection, you couldn't do the same thing, then probably you ought to look at how you're living your life and think about making some changes. Many of the other similarities that we have, or some of the other similarities is our beliefs in music. With the Rastafarians, it's the drum circles. With the natives, it's the drum circles and the dancing. Both have a tremendous respect for Mother Earth and for giving back to her and not depleting or taking away from her. Another aspect that I enjoy is that our branch of the Native American Church is matriarchal, and consequently the women are in charge of it, which I find to be strangely appealing, because without the mother, none of us would be here, and without mothers, none of us would be here. And so it's refreshing to have women assume leadership roles and be strong focus in the church. As we approach the new millennium and get it underway and get going, more and more people have fled organized religion. They're disillusioned with the lies and the bureaucracy and a lot of the problems that they find in organized religion. With us, our church ceremonies in the Rasta religion are referred to as bingies. And usually what they are is festivals of music, love, friendship, food, and there's very little, if any, preaching as you understand it. So we would hope as we progress with this, if you join with us, that you will participate in these various celebrations of life and that you will find the same joy in being a good human being and joining with the Creator that we do. Now this is the part of the presentation where usually I turn it over to my lovely wife. And she comes out and says something really cute and dazzles you with her beauty, which she's done with me for quite some time. And we talk about the church itself and how it's set up, how it protects you, and what you can look for from us. Some people say my wife's a little crazy. She's really a lot crazy. She has this belief that if she throws herself on the gun, it will keep the bullet from hitting you. And she's very committed to that. We just had a case about 4 weeks ago. One of our reverends was arrested at the airport, transporting sacrament from a church in Fresno to a church in Las Vegas. And my wife went down to the courthouse with 4 jars of sacrament in her purse and a handful of paperwork. Naturally, security went crazy when she started pulling out all these jars of cannabis. They couldn't do anything to her. Not that one of the cops didn't want to arrest her, she was jumping up and down going, can I arrest her, can I arrest her? And her boss, of course, looked at her and said, don't touch that woman. The papers that she was carrying were motions to adjoin herself to the criminal charges that were allegedly going to be brought against this young man when he went into his hearing. And when we went into the hearing, all of the papers had been filed, and she flat said, hey, the sacrament's mine. Arrest me. don't arrest my parishioner, don't arrest my reverend. The responsibility falls with me. When we went into the courtroom, the judge had read all of the paperwork that she turned in, and he looked up, he looked at the district attorney, and he said, take this shit out in the hallway. No charges were ever filed, and right now they're they've submitted the motion for return of property. Where we stand on that, I don't know. The reason I mention this story is that our commitment to you is very real and very true. We will do anything and everything we can to protect anybody that is a member of our church, including filing papers saying that the responsibility lies with Heidi and myself. Now, to explain what she meant about the property being hers, if you're a part of the church and you're growing cannabis, it is therefore holy sacrament. And just as the Pope is in charge of every bottle of wine in the Catholic Church, Heidi is therefore responsible for every bit of sacrament in our church. Now, I seriously doubt that the Pope crawls around through the wine cellars in any of the Catholic churches and counts the bottles. Heidi's not going to do that with you either. The plants are yours physically, and they are yours financially. But what we do is we claim the spiritual responsibility for them. And as the Holy Sacrament of the Church, we have the right to do that. It's not only a right, it's an obligation. And that is why she will stand up and protect you at every turn. We have extensive paperwork that you post on your properties that makes it very clear to law enforcement that you are in fact a church, that you are in fact growing sacrament, and the problems they will run into, excuse me, should they violate the sanctity of the church. Sorry, don't worry about it. President, what's his name, Cheeto, the little orange guy, on National Prayer Day this year, May 4th, signed an executive order. And in that executive order, he stated very, very clearly that all agents of the federal government must respect any and all churches and their beliefs, regardless of the religion, which strengthened the Religious Freedoms Restoration Act and the Religious Land Use Incarcerated Persons Act. I will regale you with a few little stories at this point to allow you to understand the power of this. If you will search my name, Eddie Lepp, on the internet, you will see at least 4 or 5 videos of me literally throwing the police off of my property.
I've seen that up in Clear Lake. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That's I didn't realize that's who you were until we came here.
The reason I was able to throw them off my property is because I know more about the law than they do. Not in general, but specifically. The specific law that I know more about than they do is RFRA, the Religious Freedoms Restoration Act, and RLUIPA, the Religious Land Use and Incarcerated Persons Act. If you join the church, I suggest that you read both of them and familiarize yourself with them so that you understand why you're able to do what you do. After you do that, I suggest that you read the religious land use part once, twice, 5, 10, 15, 20, or 100 times until you understand it forward, backward, up and down, side to side, and completely and totally. Because that is how I've had them running like their asses were on fire for years. The Religious Land Use Act gives you the ability to do virtually just about anything you want. I moved on to a property, the property in Lake County you mentioned. And I bought a house. And the house was about, I think, 1,140 feet. I tore the whole house down, except for a little strip of wall about as long as from the door to the corner. And I then built a 10,000 square foot, 2-story, 8-bedroom, 6-bath house. I did all of it without permits, because as a church, you don't need permits. As a church, you don't need permission from anybody to do anything you want. However, and this is the part that's a little bit tricky, a friend of mine, Larry, worked for the code enforcement sector in Lake County. And once a week, Larry would come by my house and he'd say, "Eddie, Jesus, you're killing me. Go get the permits." And I would tell him, "Come on, Larry, you know me better than that." And we'd laugh and smoke a couple fatties, and Larry would go about his business. Well, this went on for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, Larry came to me and he said, "Come on, Eddie," he says, "man, my boss is just, she's, every day all I hear about is you. Please do this." I said, "Okay." So Larry brought his boss, a lovely lady, up to my property, and I spent about 2 hours with her. I learned a whole lot about code enforcement. She learned a whole lot about me. We had a wonderful time. One of the first things she said when she got there was, "My God, Mr. Lepp, you have overbuilt this. What's the problem with getting the permit?" My answer to her was, "There's no problem with getting the permit because I ain't fucking getting one." But I did overbuild. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what they call lam beams, but what lam beams are huge beams that support large runs of open area, like this area here. And what they are is 2x4s or 2x6s or 2x8s that are all glued together and superheated and all of this, so they're really strong. Where I was supposed to have those, I had steel I-beams, which are rated 3 or 4 or 5 times stronger than the wood. So if you do this, what you need to do is document every step of the process as you build your structure, whether it's a house or a greenhouse or a barn or whatever. And you preferably will do it with video, but still pictures will work. But you need to take pictures and you need to have a documented history of how you built it. The ideal situation is to have a blueprint that was all drawn up, follow the blueprint, ensuring that you're building everything to or exceeding code, and then keep your picture or video history with it. The reason for this is the day will come perhaps that you want to sell the property. If you've got it all well documented, you can sign an affidavit swearing that you built everything to code, and then you can go ahead and sell the property. Now, when Larry brought this lady up to the house after the 2 hours, she told me, she says, "Eddie, I forgot to mention I had also built a 4,000 square foot greenhouse right out the back door." She said, "Eddie, if you'll just get a $25 permit for this greenhouse, I can work it out and cover everything." And I looked at her, I told her thank you for her time and her knowledge, and then I told her to go fuck herself. Lovely lady, it wasn't personal, it was business. I never did buy a permit, and I cannot tell you 100% that what I'm going to tell you is true because I wasn't there. However, one of my best and dearest friends in the whole world was there because he worked there, and he is still to this day one of my best and dearest friends. And so I can tell you with like 99.9% certainty that what Larry told me was true was true. When they went back, she took out all of the permits for every structure I had built and signed them all off. Now, one reason I can tell you that with as much certainty as I do is that when I went to prison, I lost that home to foreclosure. And that home's been sold twice. So any of you that know anything about real estate know you can't sell a house if there's a lien or an attachment or problems with the permitting or anything else. And it's been bought and sold twice. So obviously, my permits got cleared up somewhere. But you have to ensure that you document how you do it. We had a young gentleman in Butte County last year that had 2,000 plants outdoors. And this young gentleman, who actually was here last week, knows as much, if not more, about the Religious Land Use and the Religious Freedoms Restoration Act than I do, which isn't easy, but he does. When the police came to his property, because of his vast amount of knowledge about this, he ran them off, and they left. And they knew that they did not have a leg to stand on, and so the next day they sent out code enforcement. And code enforcement started fining him $1,000 a day. When the fine got up to approximately $80,000, they had received a letter from our attorney, Joseph Tully, and from James Flaming Eagle Mooney, the head of the Mother Church in Utah. About 3 days later, Jeff got another letter from the county, and it said, "Holy shit, dude, we didn't realize. We are sorry. Please do not sue us. And by the way, forget the $80,000. He harvested all 2,000 plants about 60 days later. So this is very real. It is very, very secure to do what we do through the church. There are rules that we set, the standards that we set as a church. My wife has been down to the Capitol building numerous times, and she's dealing with various politicians down there. And one of the ladies, when she was down there last month, she walked in and the lady says, "Well, Heidi, what are you doing here? You guys don't have to comply with these rules and regulations." And Heidi's answer was, "Well, just because we won't buy your permits or pay your crazy outrageous fees doesn't mean that we don't want to be good citizens. We do. For those of you that choose to open dispensaries, or what we refer to as spiritual centers, it's a must that you pay the sales tax. Absolutely a must. That makes us good members of the community. It helps pave our streets, it helps build the schools, it helps do all of the things that we need to do as a group or as a community. I do not want you to pay the $35,000 non-refundable fund just to see if you can even get a permit. I don't want you to pay the $100,000 for the permit. I don't want you to pay the ungodly tons of money they are trying to get out of the cannabis community. And they want it on an annual basis. We have one gentleman in Yolo County that over the last 5 years has paid Yolo County over $900,000. He found out about the churches. He joined the church, and Yolo County came out and said, "Hey, we want our cut." And he says, "Well, sorry boys, I'm a church now, get off my property." They left, and he hasn't given them one penny. And every one of his properties are up and running. So, as I say, it's very real. The standards that we set actually exceed the standards set by the state. If you are not currently 100% organic, you will need to become organic. We will have a track and trace program where you will keep track of everything you do. You'll run daily logs and weekly logs showing what you're fertilizing with, showing the products that you're using on those plants and ensuring that they're organic. Not only is this the Holy Sacred Sacrament and therefore should be completely organic, it's also medicine for many people. And we cannot contaminate them with chemicals. I was one of the very first cannabis farmers in the world to go 100% organic. And the reason I did that was because one of my very dearest friends in the whole world is Dennis Peron. For those of you who don't know who Dennis is, Dennis Peron is a very gay man who wrote 215, California's medical marijuana law, and personally got it passed. Through my close association with Dennis, I came to know and care about literally hundreds of AIDS patients. And I buried 30 or 40 of them a week for a 3.5-year period until they found some of these cocktails that were able to help these young men. One of the things that we found and that we saw as we dealt with these men was the fact that the marijuana raised with Scott's Miracle-Gro and such other bullshit products as that made them adversely sick. Where the marijuana that I was growing organically increased their appetites and gave them the ability to carry on a much happier lifestyle than they were while dependent on the chemicals. And so it's important that we follow those guidelines. They're not very demanding. And again, we don't expect you to do things that are impossible. If we set a certain standard and for one reason or another you can't meet that standard, we will meet with you and ask why. And if the reason you can't meet that standard is logical, makes sense, and can't be avoided, then we will make concessions to make it work for you. Our object is to unify all of us. I have a little saying. Unity is what puts the bullet in the chamber. Knowledge is what pulls the trigger. And I assure you, as I alluded to earlier, if you want to see a bunch of cops run like their asses are on fire, know more about the law they're trying to enforce than they do. They will turn around and run from you faster than if you had a gun in your hand. I have done it times after time, and I know from firsthand personal experience the truth of what I'm telling you. My wife has run the police off of her property on 3 occasions that I'm aware of, and I thought I was bad until I saw the recordings of how Heidi takes care of them. We do everything we can to protect you, but you have to protect yourselves. And the way to protect yourselves is knowledge. That's why you have to understand the laws that we're protecting ourselves with. That's why you have to research the Native American Church, the Rastafarian Church, and understand the roots and the history of the two organizations. The Native American Church has been around for millennia. The natives in every country, not just the United States, have been eating peyote or ayahuasca or smoking marijuana or cannabis or licking frogs or toads for as long as that stuff's been out there. The Rastafarian Church came about in the early 1930s. But the roots of the Rasta Church go back as far as the roots of the Native American Church. And again, it gets back to their common belief in the mother, and in respecting the mother, and in giving back to mother and not taking away from her. Now, I could lay out the history of both churches intricately for you, and you'd probably want to shoot me in 3 or 4 days, because I know a lot about both of them. But we're gonna skip that part. I'm gonna go ahead and have one of the gentlemen that works here at Can Accelerate speak to you now. And there'll be another gentleman after JJ speaks to you. And what we're doing is showing you some of the different aspects of the industry that we are here to help you with, that we are here to share with you, and we are here to help you protect yourself. If any of you want to talk to Darcy, she's in the main office where you came in, and she will be glad to talk to you about setting up the churches and all of the stuff involved in doing that. And I will be back after JJ and Anthony speak to answer any questions for all of you. So this time, I'd like to bring JJ up. JJ is from S2S Insurance, and he will explain to you the benefits that his company can provide for you.
Hey guys, let's give it up for Eddie. So I'll be brief and quick because nobody wants to talk about insurance for too long. That's why I do what I do. So I run S2S. I'm the president, co-owner of S2S Insurance, and what I do is I insure California legal grows and a few other states as well. I'm going to be blunt and be frank. When it comes to the church model, there's no insurance out there. I've scoured the earth. I've talked to all my people. I've talked to the top Indian tribal insurance as well. There's nothing there to cover the cannabis on this legal side. So what this has done is they've been able to push me and my partners to actually go build a model to support the church. We're looking at launching around January 1st. So this is more of just an update for you guys. So I do provide insurance for the fully compliant legal California churches and state compliant operations, but not the church model. That's a whole federal jurisdiction. Carriers don't want to deal with that whole, that whole different type of legal situation. Which baffled me because I'm like, isn't that what you guys want? You guys want it to be federal. You guys want it to go that way. They said, no, it's just a whole different set of rules that we're not used to dealing with. So it's really nothing that you should be scared about with a church and how it's federally legal. Carriers just aren't there yet. So the model that we're building is called captive insurance. I don't know if anyone has really known what captive insurance. Captive is one of the oldest type of insurances there has ever existed. It happened before any other type of insurance. What captive is everybody, and this is where we're working at the ONAC side, is everybody that's part of the ONAC church joins an association. Okay? When you join that association, we now sell the policies to the association. Everybody becomes self-insured. Put all their money in one pot. Okay? That's a full tax write-off. Hey guys. That's a full tax write-off for that policy. And then that association with that money, we go off and we play in the market. We're backed by some very large hedge fund situations. We get about 10 to 15% on the back end. The point is that at the end of the year, you actually make money off your insurance policy. Raise your hand if you made money off your car insurance policy. Exactly. Okay. What we do, one second, what we do is this association will make money off your insurance policy. It's almost like an investment, and that is how captive works on the very smart, genius level. Most people, when they form a captive, they just pay the board members. They just pay the directors. No, we give it all back to the association so that people that are part of ONAC Church can make that money. Go ahead.
Now, it's my understanding that money spent as far as federal goes, that still doesn't count as any write-off.
As far as, well, you're under the church model first off, but we're captive.
No,
So,
I'm
well,
not under the church.
oh, okay. Well, yeah, so money spent under the California model, under any insurance for a legal business is a write-off, yes. Yes, people have already written off their current policies that I've written up. You gotta understand also, on the captive side, our laws predate a lot of the government jurisdictions. They don't have access to our books, they don't have access to our people, they don't have access to shit. They cannot touch us. That is how captive works. And these models have been run around since mid-1800s. So right now, we're putting this thing together. We want to launch January 1st to support the ONAC model because the church just doesn't exist. There's a few tribal insurance people that wanna cover some of the buildings and the general liability and things like that, but we want that crop coverage. We wanna actually protect your cannabis from fire, theft, and of course, law enforcement, dare I say, because that's another theft, in my opinion. So, any questions on this?
What are the premiums?
So the premiums are gonna be set, right now, most cultivators for like a general liability is around $5,000. We kinda wanna match that, but with this captive model, as we keep on playing in the stock market with this, you know, lump of money, that way we can keep the premiums down and then also have you make money on your policy. So we're gonna be pretty comparative on the captive.
About $5,000.
Yeah, for $5,000 for the GL for standard, you know, outdoor grow situation. So when you go inside facilities, it actually starts dropping actually a little bit more because there's less risks now you're inside that facility. So premiums have been pretty good.
Does it matter on how many plants you're doing?
Yes, yeah, it does matter. I mean, you're talking honestly, like, some people go, well, I'm doing 99 plants, but my neighbor's got 200 plants. There's very little difference to that. We honestly don't care. It really is about property size and kind of the situation, fencing, things like that. There's about 25 different factors that go into a policy and the rating. I've got a guy that's he's about 1,000 plants deep right now, and he's going to pay a little bit more. So.
How do you determine, is it based off of projected sales, or how do you
Yeah.
determine what is insurable?
Absolutely. Insurance is just a 100% numbers game. So if we look at your books and your records and what you told us in the beginning off your estimated projections, match your books and records, and we go a little bit higher just so that you don't undersell yourself, then we'll be able to cover any losses in that direction.
Is there what is it called, an insurance claim?
A deductible?
Yeah, is there a deductible?
Yes, yeah. I usually like to run my deductibles around 2,500, product liability around 5,000, but you're talking $1 million payout at that point.
And how long does it take to get that check?
Usually just a few months, 60 days. Yeah, I've already had a claim go through, it took about 30 days, so just for a standard fire issue. Yeah, you know, and that's basically at the end of your claim as well, you're looking around 36 days is what they're legally compliant to pay out for, but, you know, you go through like something like a product liability case, which really is starting to kind of turn, and some people are starting to kind of get there and be more understanding of that. And it's gonna start hitting more and more where someone's gonna have an adverse reaction or learn of what you might be doing on your property. And then you're gonna go through about a year up to sometimes 2 to 3 years in a legal lawsuit. Your company's been down the whole time. Who's paying your guys? Who's keeping your company up and running? Who's paying the attorney? And who's paying you? So that's where insurance comes very, very vital to keep your operation. It takes one situation, general liability, product liability, those are the two biggest that are just gonna cream you. They're just gonna wipe you off the face of the earth, because being tied up in court for a year, most people don't realize it's millions of dollars.
Did you say that you covered mold?
We can cover mold in certain situations, yeah. So based off your watering system, so internal water damage covers under the mold and fungus as well. If you've had a nick in the sprinkler system, your watering system isn't right, things like that, and end up ruining your crop, yeah, we cover that for indoor situations. So, really neat stuff. The point of an insurance company is they want to see you pay your premium. So if you go down, you're not gonna have a renewal, you're not gonna pay your premium, how are they gonna get their money, so on and so on. So they try to cover as much as they can based off their risk assessment. So it's working, and as we still cover all these things, it's actually still expanding even more and more. The next thing they wanna do is the outdoor grows. I can't cover the crop on the outdoor situations just yet. We're still working on that model as well. So everything's on indoor.
So currently your coverage is on indoor?
Currently coverage is indoor and approved greenhouses, no hoop houses, approved indoor greenhouses. Something that you actually have climate control over, is something that we can see controlled, the carriers.
Basically any structure,
Huh?
basically any structure.
Basically any structure that you have control over, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's the
so
definition
you
of
can do a
everything.
barn, you know, I can do a barn on a ranch style, you can do a commercial style, things like that. Hoop houses though, I mean, those things, you know, strong winds sometimes with hoop houses and snow and things like that, they can cave in, so.
Oh, and what about a strong greenhouse with like a 3 triple wall system, stuff like that?
Well, I mean, usually you want to go something of a strong plastic, anything I can't put a knife through.
Right.
We can ensure the internals on, and then we can actually get that cannabis coverage for you. So, but anything on a hoop house structure, I can't actually insure the plant. It's what they call an open greenhouse at that point. So, yeah.
So you're talking hard plastic.
Hard plastic for the greenhouse. Yeah, most people that have hoop houses, they are now starting to switch over to that hard plastic greenhouse. We've got a company that we work with that does professional automated greenhouses. It's basically one guy 6 hours a week. That's all you need to operate. So it's pretty neat stuff that we work with.
You have a picture of that? Or a card?
Yeah, we've got pamphlets over there. It's called Next Gen Farming. We have them up there on the desk. Really neat stuff. Good.
Does your insurance, if we do get into like a legal dispute or a legal issue after the fact, does the insurance, can I submit some sort of claim that would help me pay for attorney fees, or is that,
Define legal issue.
I have to sue a partner for not doing what they didn't, what they said they were gonna do, or they stole from me? I don't know.
Yeah, theft is one thing, so it could be internal theft or it could be external theft, and we can cover that. If you're going to sue somebody, we're not gonna pay for your attorney fees because you decided to take the effort to sue them. If you're the one being sued, then we can pay for your lawsuit and the attorney fees and court costs, yes, at that point. But you took the effort to put your money in and sue somebody, so that's a different situation. Yeah, if we paid people to sue people, then it would never stop. We'd all be suing each other, so, absolutely. Is that about it, guys? Let me pass it off to Anthony here.
You have a
Anthony.
card? Cards?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got cards up front. My office is literally right in there, so you can come see me, and I have cards up at the front desk. Everything that we talk about today, if you go to the front desk where you guys first came in, everything is right there. My name is JJ with S2S Insurance right here, and I've got cards up there.
Cool.
So, thank you guys. I'm gonna pass it
Thank
off to
Thank you.
Anthony here.
How's everybody doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good session of church so far?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah? I always like these church sessions. It brings in a bunch of new people. I see most of you guys I haven't even met before, which is pretty awesome. Some of you I've seen. Maybe a High Times event or one of the other events. So you know who I am. My name's Anthony Biaggi. They call me Mr. Abundant. It's kind of like my Instagram hashtag and all that stuff. Kind of learning that as I go. Everything that you see in here with Can Accelerate, 420 Abundance, all this is kind of myself and my partner Sammy Trujillo's creation. We put this together to facilitate educating, empowering, and uniting the cannabis industry. We believe that if we do just that, we can all come together, work together, help each other, figure out how to, deal with the fact that Marlboro and Philip Morris and all those guys are probably going to be trying to come into our world, right? So where I come from big business. I mean, I'm used to dealing with these huge organizations, big time investors. My history, I started as a poker player, selling cannabis and also playing poker for a living. That's where I came from. Did that for a few years until I got recruited into the insurance industry by one of the largest MGAs selling individual medical and life insurance in the country. I blew that up, realized I had sales skills, realized I could manage people. I had an amazing mentor, a couple different ones in that industry. In a matter of 4.5 years, I signed up over 10,000 clients for over 30,000 policies. I did that with a team. I had 40 agents in-house and 250 across the country, and I was licensed in 42 states. This was something that I had no idea how to do when I first started. It was just that one guy who was very smart and knew the industry saw something in me. Something that I didn't see in myself, didn't even know I had possible, but he saw it, and I was coachable, so I learned. After that, I was in a position where I was financially secure. Once you sign up a bunch of insurance policies, they keep on paying you. It's a residual game, which I learned. Pretty cool thing until Obama came in and kind of adjusted everything for me on the health insurance side, and commissions dropped from 30% to 4%. It's like, okay, got to readjust this business. So I did. I adjusted it, ended up selling it off. And jumped into real estate. Got into real estate because during that time, 2009 to 10, it was like properties were at a low, everybody was, you know, dealing with foreclosures. I myself had a bunch of properties get foreclosed upon. I did not the right thing. I buried my head. I didn't do a short sale. I didn't know what to do at the time. So I started doing research. I started digging on what I should have done. I got all this information. That ended up turning out to, I went to a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, who he wrote this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you know, very famous guy who I had learned about years and years before, and I put all the information I got into a book to help homeowners, right? And brought it to him and said, hey man, I know you write books, and you know, this is what I created, and I think it can be used to, you know, support homeowners dealing with underwater properties, dealing with, you know, figuring out if they want to go to foreclosure, do a short sale, deed in lieu, all the stuff that I didn't know was an option for me. Loan modification, I didn't know it was an option for me when I was going through it. And I was making so much money doing insurance, it's like, whatever, I'll just not have credit and use cash, right? So he ended up taking me up on the offer. So now I have a book that was written, put out there to everybody to use. I did library. I went to different libraries and educated homeowners. I realized doing all this is like I was doing house flips and investing in real estate. I realized that, you know, doing those deals didn't do it for me. It was the people that on the other end that like had this situation and were struggling, and now I knew how to help them. And I realized that was like a key thing for me, is being a coach and supporting people. So, you know, that company's still rolling. If you look helpwithhouses.com, it's still going out there. If you look at my name, you'll see my book. Last time I checked, it still only had 5-star reviews, which I'm kind of proud of. And then from there, I, you know, wanted to find myself. So I went in and started doing leadership related courses, and I started really digging in, learning myself. I was financially free at the time. So I started really digging and realized that I could be a coach myself. Like I hired coaches, learned a bunch about business, and I started being a CEO coach. I started traveling around the country, serving mostly energy companies and high-level executives, sales managers, and also CEOs, and help direct them on how to build their business. Couple small businesses in there too, so I learned, you know, on the lower level, which that's where I come from, is doing these small businesses and building them up, right? So I was successful in that, working with a company called Forging Leaders. And then, you know, Sammy Trujillo came to me, who's now my partner in Can Accelerate and 420 Abundance and everything else we're doing here, came to me and said, hey, look, you know, one, I need a coach, and two, this industry needs leadership, okay? This industry has, you know, been running in the black market for so long. Nobody writes anything down on paper, right? It's all up here. And in my world, in big business, you know, when we talk, that's all personal. This is all personal stuff. When we write it down and we have a contract, that's business, right? So that's where I come from. And getting into this industry, you know, I've had family and friends that have been in this industry the whole time, right? And I've been waiting for the right time to jump in. I just went the white collar route of learning how they do their game and learning how to deal with big investors. And when Sammy came up and said, hey, look, I want to do this Cannabis Resource Center. And, you know, we didn't know the name at the time. We just called it Cannabis Resource Center, and it evolved to Can Accelerate. And now everything that we're doing for educating kind of came to life, right? So that's a little background of the story. Do you guys understand what Can Accelerate is and what 420 College is and all these different companies that you see in here? Have a pretty good understanding?
No.
No, okay, so Can Accelerate. Can Accelerate is our affiliate program, okay? It's also a shared space for cannabis businesses, okay? Have you guys heard of Regis? Like Regis, you travel across the country, right? And you go into a Regis and you're a member, you show up, it's like, hey, I could have that office and use it, right? So the original idea for Can Accelerate was like a Regis model, okay? It's a membership model. People pay to come in here to be able to talk cannabis with other cannabis businesses we don't need to deal with anybody else. It's like, hey man, we trust cannabis businesses that are playing in the same game that we're all playing, right? Otherwise, I don't want to deal with a company that doesn't understand what we go through, right? So that is Can Accelerate. There's an ability. We're going to be launching with Can Accelerate the whole affiliate model, so anybody can refer deals in, right? Because we have real estate teams that focus on real estate. We have product companies that just sell product, right? We have, different pieces for consulting that you see on the board over here, where it's like you need a business plan, you need a strategic overview, you need a, production system plan, you need an investment strategy, right? Myself and my team specialize in creating those documents and also even pitching, your big investor, okay? That's kind of my specialty. Is I get in with big investors. I know how they like to look at their numbers. I've played that game. I've gotten millions of dollars invested in the past, and now in this world, kind of the role that I'm playing is taking these companies, or right now they're collectives, turning them into companies, getting the companies ready to take on bigger investments so you can actually get your business to a highly successful cannabis business. 420 Abundance is the company that does most of the services, so business plans, consulting, grow consulting, all those pieces are within 420 Abundance. Of course, JJ was up here talking about S2S Insurance, which is the insurance company that we started. That all came from my past history with insurance. It's like, man, I know this game. I know how these guys play. Let's set something up to serve the growers, right? I mean, it's really, that company is meant for growers. And then also a big piece is product companies for product liability, because down the road, kids get a hold of it, something happens, all of a sudden they're suing everybody and their brother, and that's where the insurance company needs to kick in. 420 College, we started a few months ago doing education in this room, okay? And, it's been kind of a whirlwind. I put together the speakers, started blasting it out there, and all of a sudden it was like sold out. And then so much time was focused on preparing for these events, right? And putting it all together and making sure that that little piece of the company was able to survive, right? And it got to the point where I'm like, look, man, I could go and do a deal with 420 College that's been doing this for 8 years and travels across the country and has a model together, and I'll just partner with them and support them to grow, right? So that's what I've done. So we utilize 420 College for all our introductory workshops, and now I'm currently building a grow workshop as well as a funding workshop, because I know that the majority of these small businesses kind of starting out in the cannabis industry are going to need bigger funding, right? And I'd like to myself and also some of my team to show you guys how that works, right? So you can go and put it all together. Any questions? I've been talking really fast.
What's the membership fee?
So right now, we don't have a membership fee. What we're doing is we're about to flip it when we take over the 13,000 square feet. That is a whole ecosystem built. There's going to be 17 offices in there that are circulating around, okay? And then right in the middle is going to be the incubator, which is all the cannabis companies, right? And the different grows that come in and go, okay, you pay a $99 membership fee to be able to come in, attend daily education, to be able to view it online, because, hey, sometimes you can't come in, but there's a speaker that's speaking that you want to see, right? So you could view it online, and then also to be able to attend the networking events. That, a couple days a week we'll have networking events, and it's literally the best time to meet somebody in the industry. When they're coming in here, they're working on their business on a business level, and just not, on a not necessarily business, more personal level, right? And then from there, there's, in this office, the offices that you see rented, each one of those pay $1,000 a month. Okay, so it's a normal real estate lease model. Cubicles. We're going to set up cubicles in the next side that have a little bit bigger section for somebody to sit, maybe a couch, and those I think are going to go for $500. And that's where you rep your brand, and you also use all these services around you and get a bigger investor to invest in your business to pay for all the services that you're gonna need for your business. So we're putting all that together. In the next month and a half, we will roll all it out, because the plan is in 3 months, we're all in that office. More questions?
Is that in this building?
Yes. So when you got off the elevator and you turned right, if you look to the left, it used to be the Department of Justice. Go figure, right? So you see that plexiglass wall, it's like, okay, I see what they had. And we have a vision that we've, mapped out with our team to kind of put in how it all will work. And it's gonna be right over there. Yeah.
What about helping Nevada and Oregon? Would you guys be able to do something like that?
I myself have a piece of a grow in Nevada in Sparks. So I might be able to support slightly, but really, this is California.
California, okay.
We do have contacts all over the place.
Okay.
Right? And a lot of our relationships are in other places. So I might be able to support you, but
Okay.
really can accelerate California right now.
Does S2S cover other states such as Washington?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. S2S is, I think they're currently licensed Washington, Oregon, Colorado, and California.
Oh man,
Yep.
dope.
Yep. Yes.
Is there a group of investors or angel investors that are part of Can Accelerate yet?
So they're all lining up is what's happening. We do have hedge funds that we have talked to and are deploying money. We do have investor groups that are deploying money as well. But I don't necessarily have what you said is like a specific group of angel investors for Can Accelerate.
For the
Yeah, I
community?
don't have it specifically laid out like that yet, but man, they're all talking to me. They all want to be in here. They all want to see these businesses get legal, get compliant, have a plan, and show where they're going to use the money that they get invested and how it's going to make a return, right? And why I really want that next building over there, or the next side of this building, is because then we can have the incubator with all these companies in there. And I can make sure every single one of them looks the right way, shows up the right way, and pitches the right way, and I can go invest in those guys, right? Yeah, great question. No more questions? Come on.
Just to reiterate, you said it would be a $99 member fee?
Yeah,
And is
that's
that
what-
like a yearly, monthly? Or?
Yeah, it'll be a monthly
Monthly
deal to get in, and that will allow you to go into all these daily education. So right now, in here, we're kind of doing, the church comes in, they're bringing the people in, right? And then starting next week, we're gonna have, S2S is gonna have a whole 2-hour deal where they'll go through insurance, right? And people show up just for that daily education on insurance. And the next day will be Mechanics talking about banking and eBay for weed, which, I mean, that just happened last week. It's an eBay and the PayPal for weed, right? Haven't seen anything like it. We've been working on it for 1.5 years. And just last week, Laurier Jackson, everybody on the banking side said, you guys are good and we're moving forward. So credit, yeah.
So you moved up